Episode 81. It's so hard to say goodbye. Welcome to the 10 Minute Off-Road Podcast. I'm your host, Nikki G. I'm here to inform, entertain, and delight your ear holes with all things off-road for the next 10 minutes or so. Why 10 minutes? It's a very somber day today. I'm not going to say any jokes, so we'll just skip over all that. You can listen to the 10 Minute Off-Road Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Overcast, Breaker, CastBox, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and Stitcher, but not on iHeartRadio or Pandora. You can contact 10 Minute Off-Road Podcast at 10 Minute Off-Road at 10minuteoffroad@gmail.com. Boy, did I mess that up. Or you can leave a comment on our YouTube channel, which is probably about the easiest way. Or you can send us an email or instant message us on Facebook or Instagram. And you know, Twitter, I think Twitter's kind of dead to me now. I haven't done Twitter in a while. But let's face it, I don't really pay attention to the social media. I hardly keep up my own personal social media accounts. I'm bad on it that way. I am looking to hire a social media account consultant. It's been a sad couple of weeks. A few weeks ago, my good friend and camping buddy and wheeling friend, Jerry, passed away very unexpectedly. I did not see it coming. You know, you kind of expect it when people are diagnosed with some type of ailment or terminal disease or something, but this came out of nowhere and just struck Jerry down. And I'm still coming to grips with it. I'm kind of in shock and denial that he passed. It hasn't really hit me yet. Although I did go out camping without him right after he passed. We were planning a camping trip, and he passed. And first thought was, all right, let's cancel the trip. But then we thought, or at least I thought, no, I'm going to go because Jerry went camping no matter what. If we canceled, he went camping anyhow by himself. And this was, I thought I would get closure if I went out camping anyhow. And it didn't work. I didn't really get any closure. I still haven't found a proper way to say goodbye to Jerry. That's fitting Jerry. So I'm going to dedicate this podcast to Jerry and tell you a little bit about Jerry. I've known him for about the past 3 years, and I won't say we were close as friends, but I guess I don't have very many friends, and I considered him a very good friend. So I met Jerry through Facebook, and he was a big fan of my YouTube videos. And him and, the K crew that I talk about all the time, that I go wheeling with. Jerry was part of the K crew, and they reached out to me, and we went wheeling. I think our first trip was Old House Gap Road before they closed it. And we hit it off right away. Talking about YouTube videos, Jerry loved watching YouTube videos about off-road, about anything outdoors related. And I imagine he watched some other stuff too, but he always talked about stuff he saw on YouTube that was related outdoors. He enjoyed the outdoors and was always up for a camping trip, no matter what. And sometimes when we'd back out of a trip for weather or some other reasons, Jerry would just go on all by himself. He just loved being outdoors. Now, Uwharrie was in his backyard pretty much, and he would hike out, or not hike out, but drive out to Uwharrie all the time just to sit out there and sit under the stars. So Jerry always had his camping gear loaded in his Jeep and ready to go. At a moment's notice, all he had to do was throw his food in his fridge, and he was ready to go. And I tell you, I've known him for 3 years, and I've never really been inside his Jeep. And I went in his Jeep about two weeks ago, and that thing is packed from tailgate to the back seat to the back of the front seat. It was packed. He literally kept all his gear in his Jeep ready to go. Speaking about his gear, he was always improving on his camping gear. If there was something out there that he saw that he thought would make it a better experience, he went out and got it. And a lot of times he would buy stuff and wouldn't even open it up or look at it until he just throw it in his Jeep. And then when we went camping, he would pull it out and we'd look at it and sometimes assemble it. We have started a many a campfires with his Amazon boxes. And Jerry always bought the best of stuff that he always thought he would need, but he liked to make a lot of stuff himself too. Jerry's one of the few people I know that had a water distillery and used to distill his own water. And you replace the word water with something else, and you kind of get the meaning. And Jerry would make his own apple pie moonshine. I'm not a big drinker, but he liked it, and a lot of other people said it was pretty good. To me, it tasted like lighter fluid, but, be honest, I don't drink a lot, so Jerry, I don't know if he liked to cook, but he always cooked us dinner. He'd make, most of the times it was just he'd grill some hamburgers. Sometimes we had hamburgers and hot dogs. Some occasions he made a steak. We had hot ham and cheese sandwich, but Jerry always loved to cook, or always would cook for us, whether he liked it or not, I don't know. And didn't think to ask. But he did most of his cooking on a Scottle, and he loved his Scottle, and he bragged about it all the time. Jerry always seemed to know a little bit about everything. You talk about a subject, and Jerry knew something about it. And he wasn't one of those like know-it-all people that just say stuff to keep engaged in the conversation. He was genuine. He pretty much knew a little bit about everything. And if he did know something, he was pretty quick to tell you that that's something he didn't know. He was easy to talk to and very easy to get along with. From the minute I met him, I felt like we were lifelong old friends. And along the lines of Jerry knowing everything, a little bit of everything, he always knew where we were. I always kind of led, I guess, because I drive the slowest, so I kept the pace. They would put me out front to keep the pace, especially when we're on the highways and everything. I never know where in the hell I am. I am lost. Even with GPS, I turn wrong ways. I get my left and right confused. I'm just bad with directions. But to me, getting lost is part of the adventure. You never know where you're going to turn up. You never know where you're going. But Jerry always knew exactly where we were. If we come to an intersection, he'd say, all right, if we turn left here, it comes out there. If we turn right here, we end up over there. He just knew all these back roads that we went through. He just knew. I don't know how. I don't know if it's even humanly possible. But he just knew where we were and where we were heading. And I'm going to miss him chiming in over the radio. We want to make a left up here in the next quarter mile or so, or we want to make a right at this intersection. The thing I take away from Jerry is that he was always the first one to set up. Now, I'm still unloading stuff out of my Jeep, and he's set up, sitting in his chair, vaping, and drinking a cold one, whether it was a water, a soda, or whatever. Jerry was just always set up first. And it was another thing I'm going to miss. It's almost comical the way we pick out a campsite and we decide, all right, I can set up here, we can set up there, and we always had to let Jerry set up first or pull in first because he had a rooftop tent. And I really enjoyed it. It was almost comical trying to get his Jeep level so he could sleep. As he could sleep off level, I'm thinking left to right a little bit, but he had to be dead on level, tail to nose. And he was usually the first one up, always the last one to go to bed at night. A lot of times I hit the hay and leave him up, and then I get up in the morning and he's still sitting in his chair. So he was always the last one in, first one up. One time we parked on 105, and we had a beautiful view of the east, and we all agreed we were going to get up early in the morning and watch the sunrise over the mountain, and that didn't happen. But luckily Jerry was up, and he took some awesome pictures for us. So along with being the first one to set up, he was always the first one to pack up. He literally would pack up in 5 minutes. I'll never forget the first time I went camping with Jerry, and he packed up. We were all packing up, and he packed up first, and I packed everything up. And I thought we were ready to go, but we weren't. So I packed up everything. Then I unpacked my chair, and I thought we were ready to go. So I packed up my chair again. And after a few minutes, I realized we weren't ready to go. So I pulled my chair out, and Jerry looked at me and he said, "The first thing you take out and the last thing you put in is your chair." And he would tell me that several times throughout the years I've known him. Just about every time we went camping, when I'm packing up my chair, he would tell me, "Chair's the last thing to go in." That's the one thing I'm going to take away from knowing Jerry, that the chair is always last to go in. And Jerry, camping's not going to be the same without you. I would like to have a moment of silence for Jerry, but that doesn't make good podcasting. So those of you that know Jerry, I know you'll remember him in your own way. And those of you that never met Jerry, all I got to say is you missed out on a very incredible person. And I don't think I'll ever go camping again without thinking about him at least once. So until next time, this is Nicky G saying, wheel what you got and be happy.